Here are the writing tips you need to learn how to build your own fictional world the right way, and how to create stories that will have your readers begging for more. Join me on the journey toward world building my own story, as well as providing you with all the writing tips you need to make your story and characters stand out from all the rest. What is up, you muffin munching muggles? Welcome to Fiction and Reality, where we help you, yes, you, become the most devilishly gifted human that you know you are and that you knew you always could be. We'll start with creating a backbone for your fantastical world, or in other words, building your world's core. Cause you need to know what you're talking about, son.
Do what? Oh shit!
Being able to define what your story is about and what themes make your world unique. One Piece has pirates and an all-out grandiose scramble for the Pirate King's secret treasure, as well as his legendary title of Pirate King, encompassed by themes of freedom, slavery, and sacrifice. And Dragon Ball has Dragon Balls, and themes of childhood abandonment and unhealthy obsession with masochism.
Hey, Cell! It's called a sensu bean!
It's all about the message that you want to express to the world. So ask yourself, why would I read your story?
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
Establishing a central theme or idea behind your world will prove vital for helping your reader determine exactly what underlying elements harmonize with their spectrum of morals or ethics, and if the resonance is strong enough to keep them flipping the pages. What makes your story unique, of course, is your own ingenuity and aptitude to create, to extract underlying themes and map them on a trail riddled with adventure, stamped by your own personal mark of approval. Whether it's the state of governance by a dark king who swamps their land in shadow and blight, or simply a legend that sparks a feral hunt between your characters for the very thought or hope of attaining glory. You'll need a core goal, as well as an imposing, resisting, and enduring forces, of course, grafted in the scope of your own ingenuity to make this world unique to everyone flipping through the pages. Give your readers a reason to identify with your world, discern how you'll strike within inches of their heart, and speak to fragments of their own prefecture, and what's more, doing it in an intricate and creative way. The audience will be more willing to lend their ear and bend the knee, begging to know exactly what will happen next. Aside from this, you'll need to know how to bring those exact themes to life by painting a picture. So let's paint a picture.
We have happy accidents.
And I'm sure that you're not clicking on this video because it was just a happy little accident, right? Once you've established your theme and have empirically jotted down the core message you want your audience to harmonize with, consider painting a picture of this world. Close your eyes and envision in your mind's eye. Is there a land swamped in a bog of shadows? Maybe the hills are made of candy canes and gumdrops, raining from above, plodding from the cheeks of pooping unicorns. It all depends on what mood you want to convey, and the medium you want to use to bring your story to life. Find out the environment that shapes your civilizations and cultures. Using your own ingenuity, uncover how that environment causes different classes of people to adapt to confounding factors. Maybe one side is afforded all the resources by being able to occupy fertile soil, and with the overlying advantage and thus an imbalance of power keeps a stranglehold on those who flake on the other side of the river. Consider the weather, climate, or natural disasters. Maybe you have a tornado that's spinning with lightning, or storms that rain shards of iron that are as sleek and as glacierous as ice. What do these facets symbolize, and how can you speak through them to fit the prefecture of your character, and through the eyes of that character, encompassing both their actions and words, harmonize with the audience following along on the journey? Consider the geography. Now, if you pay very close attention here, you'll see how the geography of the electoral map changes when Canada becomes a 51st state, and we're all forced to say A after every sentence.
AAA, you know? AAA.
Oh, AA. Hey, I just came from AA.
No, not AA, AAA.
Yeah, that's what I said. AA.
Oh, so you are with AAA?
Oh no, that's AAA. I just came from AA.
What environment best fits your story? Futuristic underground dystopia? A fantasy realm full of godless knights, fire-breathing horses, or by God, the man-bear-pig? Well, there is an aesthetic factor to choosing your environment. Understand that you should be able to play off of the landscape and natural disasters with regard to how they shape the power balance of civilizations and cultures within your story, and how they spark the embers that ignite your character's journey. What about the building scream death? Is it the rusted iron pipes, the whole splintered staircase leading to the front door? What screams oppression, or makes it explicitly clear that the culture is one of technological advancement, or simply just made of knuckle draggers who haven't threaded past sticks and stones? At the heart of every world, you build the foundation for the story you want to tell. Whether it's a land drowned in endless nights or a metropolis floating between fractured dimensions, your setting isn't just a backdrop, it's an unspoken character shaping the lives of those within it. That's right, class, open your pages to page 69. Oh my god, right here it says, leave a like. If you're enjoying the video right now, go ahead and leave a like to show some love. After ripping through the geographic aspect of your story and building empires crackling with flames and gun smoke, or before you even speak to your environment if you choose to, relay tokens of lore to your audience, trickling just enough from the initial segments of your story so that they know they can speak to the following. The state of governance within your story. The state of governance will set the divide for the division of powers and allow you the opportunity to define the clear-cut boundaries, who the oppressive power is,
Hello, monkeys!
who the enduring power is, and who the resisting power is. The oppressive power is the force that enforces control through fear, violence, or manipulation. This power actively subjugates others, suppresses dissent, and thrives on imbalance, whether through tyranny, military strength, or systemic oppression. In the eyes of one of my favorite series, One Piece, you'll find that the oppressive power is furled within the folds of the world government, and their blind adherence to injustice is hammered down from the authority of the celestial dragons simply based on their bloodline being justification enough. The resisting power is the force that opposes the oppressive power, whether through rebellion, subversion, or sheer perseverance. The Straw Hats seek the One Piece while selling the Grand Line and are depicted as a resisting power as they resist and rebel against the injustices and rules of the world government, as their freedom to sail is one of the most sacred elements springing them forward into their adventures. State of governance is important in establishing the imbalance or balance of powers and helps your audience differentiate between what party is the perceived tyrant and what side is the rebellious spirit going against blind justice. You may also need to explore the divide between social classes. Ever feel like you've been treated unequally? Just hating the feeling of not being heard.
Shut up! You haven't had one useful thing to say since you got here!
Understanding the divide between social classes is extremely important in establishing a clear divide, the animosity that may be strung from power imbalances and social struggles. Characters' social class may give fuel to their ambitions, wrath, hatred, or loyalty. Very divide itself, especially if it lends itself to an authoritarian state of governance, and the repression of free will through force establishes a never-ending ring of conflict, one where the oppressive party continuously tightens its grip on the reins at the slightest hint of resistance, and one where the resistive party is constantly scoping for a break in the guard and an opportunity to conquer those restricting their rights. Fantasy novel might highlight the gripe between two arcanist factions where one maintains rule due to the spirit of a spell that they refuse to share with the others for fear of losing their overbearing dominance. Or maybe it's a futuristic dystopian setting where classes are simply divided via a caste system and what family you are born into, with no opportunity to ascend the social ladder except through rebellion. Think of Dishonored, where the rich exploit the working class while staying safe in their manners, while the poor are abandoned to a deadly plague. Or just for example, Attack on Titan, where the wealthy live in luxury while the poor struggle on the outermost walls, making them the first to die in the Titan attacks. Readers sympathize with characters who struggle against oppression and typically detest tyrants who exploit others. A well-constructed class divide helps create strong opportunities to forge an unbreakable emotional link. When creating your story and unveiling keynotes of your lore to the audience, you also want them to have some sort of foundation for what obstacles or trials exactly are lying in wait, and pay homage to the events of the past which led to the state of the present. Besides making your world unique, the history and lore of your story will unfurl and justify the state of the world with all its given trials and obstacles, both physical, social, and cultural at large. Obstacles give context to why things are the way they are. If your world has extreme class divisions, what historical event caused this imbalance? If a kingdom fears magic, was there a catastrophic war involving sorcerers? What's more, consider introducing obstacles that force your civilizations to adapt and relegate the traditions of the past to ensure efficiency and survival for the present and future. The lore of your world's laws, traditions, wars, and myths, natural disasters, are simply just a few elements that may speak to the imbalance of powers in the present. That's not even to mention how they shape the journey of your characters and offer up a chance to further refine their dynamic range by calling them to question their code of morals and ethics and whether or not the things they believe are as true as they think. Discern what trials of the past resulted in sparking the ambitions and motivations of those in the present, how it shapes your character's journey, justifies the state of the world and creates struggle, and you'll be guaranteed to have a more fluid movement in your world. Another reason history and lore is so critical when building your story is that it gives context to what kindles the desire for your character to embark on a journey. And I mean, holy crap, just how much people around you lack desire and ambition. You have to achieve failure.
You have to achieve failure.
Glimpses of a larger world. As you reveal pieces of your lore, the reader starts to sense that there's more to discover, both within the world and within the characters themselves. A whispered legend or a mysterious artifact might hint at greater things to come, things that will change the course of the journey. Maybe your characters are fueled to voyage by a whispered legend or tales of mysterious artifacts. Perhaps they're connected to said prophecy and uncover some mysterious glyphs, unveiling secrets of a buried past that would shift the very structure and framework of the present. For Naruto, it's the hope of being acknowledged and becoming Hokage. For Luffy, it's the hope of bringing the world together, freeing them from strife and becoming the Pirate King. And now we're set up to address your characters in play and the concept of the moving world. With each revelation and each nugget of your world's lore being fed to the reader, the stakes grow higher, the blinders are peeled back a bit more, and the desire to uncover what's buried beneath the surface becomes all-consuming. Let us talk about the moving world and how to create worlds that are dynamic rather than static. What is my concept of the moving world, and why is it the structure that I've been using for the dark fantasy novel that I've been writing? Well, imagine that you have a board scattered with dots, and each and every one of these dots, though they do not proceed with their own linear path, are connected via their own pathway to a terminal end, in which each character and the corresponding event within the plot evolve with one another. You'll need to have characters consisting of your main cast as well as your supporting characters that all have an empirical reason to be living in your fluid world, a reason, and perhaps even more importantly, a goal to strive towards en route to complete their character arc. Whether sprung forth by a tale of legacy, the discovery of an ancient artifact, a bond by blood right, or willingness to be free, each action and word should evolve the state of your story. First, you'll want to know exactly who your players are, the themes you want to speak through them, and of course a general idea of where you want this story to take both the characters and your audience. At a simple baseline, here are the players: main characters, supporting characters, and opposing characters, each balancing the scales of each other's actions and motives. The moving world concept focuses on connecting and threading multiple storylines, which not so uncommonly take place outside the setting of where the main protagonist ventures on his journey. To keep things simple, envision a main storyline and multiple storylines threading towards it. There may be multiple governing powers, such as in the case of my novel, the main storyline consisting of the Scars and Arcanists from the great nation of Zenobia, and threading storylines which encompass the Upper Nine, the Prowlers, and the Halos. Here's my hard-stuck rule. Designate a couple of players from each faction within its given storyline, with one character being the most streamlined, chiseling them out as well as you do your main character's goals, motivations, and ambitions, and track their actions on a timeline alongside your character, who may or may not have yet felt the effect of the actions they've taken or is completely ignorant to the actions they are planning to take. Tensions within the Upper Nine follow a character's acts of discreet, underlying but covert rebellion. With regard to the Scars, one of the members is clearly an imposter and his reasons for being present are unknown. The Prowlers are chasing a forgotten and long-lost prophecy thought to have been buried with the war that laid waste to the valley they so feverishly search. The Halos simply want to keep their eye on the rest of the world, grapple with dominion, and keep them distant from their golden wings, and explicitly express their detestation of the Prowlers. My protagonist seeks to uphold a promise to the people of the valley by overthrowing an Arcanist who he believes will corrode every last thread of earth to dust if it means he'll have his own twisted justice enacted. I hope you can see, now that I've laid out the various goals from each of the factions and illustrated the importance of designating a character to serve as a window of the world for each, that there is an opportunity to play the roles against each other while maintaining continuity of the main storyline or story branch with respect to my main character. This method relies heavily on playing the long game, as with each progressive chapter, you'll gain insight into perhaps a battle between two Prowlers, who are both searching for the same legacy. However, that transformative event can be as revealing as you make it out to be. Scarf, who knows a secret that no one else does. And of course, one of the great Arcanist nations, Zenobia, has their own motives for sending my protagonist to the Isle to venture through the valley and retrieve a stolen aristocrat, but an ally of the East Galaxy. I truly love breaching outside of the planet where the events of my main storyline take place and measuring the actions of those who are acting independent of the main storyline, but empirically in such a way that their actions will eventually trickle through and come to a head with all the other factions involved with the main storylines mentioned above. Everything is continuously moving, coexisting storylines both outside the main storyline arc and within. The characters measured from the Prowlers, Scarves, Great Nations, and Halos all have their own prerogative and secrets and all take action both independently and dependently to veer the course of the world into their favor. The reason I take up this method is that I love the means of building anticipation through multiple storylines while keeping the main storyline in center focus, as I find that the eagerness to find out how these actions will trickle into the storyline in the unforeseen future bleeds infinitely. Will characters be betrayed? Are people pretending not to know about a fable? Why exactly are two Prowlers engaged in deadly combat over an old dusty book? And why is one of the strongest Prowlers trekking alongside my main cast while the Prowlers themselves are to have been deemed by the great Arcanist nations as enemies of God? What does power mean? What does status mean? What are the consequences of your actions as well as the consequences of being passive? Storylines of each of these designated characters are followed and threaded transiently through the chapter to ultimately rest on a final architect. Though the image may not from one act or even the entire novel alone be completed, but rather that the necessary steps towards cohesion of these storylines have been taken. Each step, each action, and each decision involves the next and cross-links that scattered plot, locking chain by chain to structure a completely unique and refined plot. I encourage you to utilize the moving world to push your story forward. If you took anything from this video, I want you to take a moment to crack that subscribe button below and like the video. Like the video. It pushes these videos out so that others can take the key tokens that you gain. So do your fellow comrades a favor. I will leave a link to my socials in the description below. If you want more info on how to improve your story, feel free to check out some of my other videos by clicking right here. Writers, world builders, and storytellers aiming to perfect writing techniques and enhance their storytelling and world building are all welcome. And with that, remember, if ever you're lost in the forestry where strip your mind from fantasy and look to the window of the world, and there your mind will run free.